Yo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. Friday Night SmackDown wasn't the worst SmackDown I've ever seen, but it was far from being any good. And we are going to talk about it all right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Friday Night SmackDown review and reaction show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Tonight's episode of SmackDown definitely had its share of issues, and while I am tremendously interested in what's going on with Daniel Bryan and The Fiend, and I am mildly interested and kind of want to see what's going on between Mandy Rose and Otis, the rest of this show could definitely have been thrown directly in the trash. Anytime you put Roman Reigns and Baron Corbin against each other in the ring, I don't give a damn if it's in the opening segment, if it's in the main event, if it's anywhere on this show, it's immediately going to take me right out of it. I was one of the people that were sitting here saying, oh, I hope that we see the Usos come back and maybe team up with Roman Reigns, and that would cause some kind of a cool team up, and maybe it would be great. But what was I scared of the most? We mentioned it last week. I said this isn't going to go away. This is only a way for the WWE to extend the most cringeworthy the most cringeworthy segment, rather, on the whole entire episode of SmackDown every week. The one that is continually put in the main event, that continues the long-running tradition of putting Roman Reigns and making him more important than every championship on the show. Which I cannot abide by. I can't be alright with that. Why is the King Corbin Roman Reigns scenario, no matter how they think about giving it to us, whether they're throwing dog food on each other or whether they're bringing back Usos, it's always the main event. And the championship is secondary. And the Intercontinental Championship means nothing. And the Tag Team Championships mean nothing. But the most important thing has got to be whatever's going on in the world of the big dog. And it pisses me off. I don't want to be seeing it to begin with. Meanwhile, it's main eventing week after week after week. And as far as the matches on this card tonight go, they have no originality and are truly lacking imagination. And this SmackDown is proof of that when you have every match that actually took place tonight booked the exact same way. The finish in each encounter tonight involved some sort of a distraction or an interference leading to the finish of the matchup. Every single one. When every match ends the same way on one show, how much more can I show you that these people have no idea how to book a wrestling show? At the very least, try to make it interesting. We saw the same thing happen repeatedly over and over again. And then you want to waste John Morrison. You want to have the Royal Rumble just a couple of weeks away. You could have very easily done what you're planning to do with him, what it looks like they're planning to do with him, after the Royal Rumble. Maybe people would care a little bit more after they seen him come back and last a half an hour, 45 minutes in the Royal Rumble upon his return to the WWE, giving people reason to get behind Morrison, which would make it feel a little bit more like it stung when Morrison wants to turn on the fans tonight and try to come back to elevate The Miz. You brought him back and you took away an awesome Royal Rumble moment for him to come back and play second fiddle to The Miz. And let's talk about John Morrison for a second. They wanted to open tonight's SmackDown with The Miz TV, with the special guest being John Morrison, and they're going to shed some light on why John Morrison is around. And while his reasoning was lackluster, so was his performance. John Morrison seemed very off tonight, and he doesn't come across to me as a guy that gets nervous under the bright lights. He's been there before. He's been a world champion. He's usually very good on the microphone. But I don't know if he couldn't remember all the bullshit that the WWE wrote for him, or if he was truly just very nervous in this moment. He seemed kind of shaky. which is very off his game, and it was very weird. Very weird. Thankfully, the New Day comes out, and I don't say that very often, but they come out and stop this promo, and they have this little back and forth with The Miz. They want to mention how Kofi Kingston lost to Brock Lesnar. The Miz said it was in 6 seconds, and Kofi had to correct him and say, no, it was 8 seconds. That makes Kofi Kingston look so stupid. What does that really matter? We have to get this right. It wasn't 6 seconds. That would be embarrassing. 6 seconds would be embarrassing. It was 8 seconds, bro. Does that matter? Why are we even bringing this up? Oh, we have to extend the reason why The Miz and Kofi Kingston want to battle each other. Who cares? Who cares? And while I am kind of interested in seeing The Miz and Morrison in the tag team division, this was the worst way to go about starting it off. Morrison should have been debuted, coming back at the Rumble, and after a great performance, he goes and teams up with The Miz, and then they try to elevate the tag team division and make it seem like it's worth watching again. I'd be totally down to see Morrison and The Miz versus the New Day, versus the Usos, versus Heavy Machinery, versus Gable and Ali. These would be great matchups. It would give The Miz a new life. It wouldn't make him seem like the same old boring Miz. And I think it would be good. But the way they went about it, and this Miz TV episode tonight, to do nothing but give us a rematch from last week, and a match that was much less interesting than the one they had last week, and the last one they had last week was mildly good at best. All to have John Morrison interfere towards the end and cause The Miz to win with a skull-crushing finale, getting the victory over Kofi Kingston, getting his win back, 50-50 booking specialities at the WWE. John Morrison's flip was kind of impressive. He did this crazy move where he ran up onto the steel steps and then just completely did like a 360 sideways and just kind of, he glanced Big E, and Big E sold it as he's supposed to, and while it was very athletic, I'm not sure what the point of the offense was. Was he meant to hit him in the head? Was he trying to cannonball him? Like, it was a little weird after it took place, and I was just like, what was the point of that flip? To show us all that you are very good at parkour still, and you could do a 360 in midair, even though the end result didn't really amount to much offense? The guy landed on his feet. It was very impressive, but if that's why you're out there, I mean, try to at least make a little bit of sense. You know, do something impactful that you actually can land. Like, I don't know. It was just weird. It was a very weird maneuver. This match was what it was. It was just a match. And that would be the end of that. And I'm looking forward to where they're going as a tag team. And hopefully John Morrison settles in and gets back to basics on the mic and doing what the Shaman of Sexy does best. The guy's entertaining, and tonight was off-putting for me. I don't understand why he came across as he did. We then got an edition of the Firefly Funhouse, and it seems like they are getting back to where they were with the Firefly Funhouse. This was very interesting. Bray Wyatt addressing Daniel Bryan, saying he should be worried this time because The Fiend, at first, he just wanted Daniel Bryan to remember. And we've seen these quick flashback clips of when Daniel Bryan was in the Wyatt family and how he betrayed them. And then he said, then The Fiend just wanted to change you. And they showed us The Fiend ripping the hair out of Daniel Bryan's head. But now he just wants to hurt you. And that's a terrifying thought. Then Bray Wyatt wants to tell everybody that he loves us, and he promises to defeat Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble, and this was good. This was back to basics with the Firefly Funhouse. It was creepy, but it got a good message across, and it's one of the most interesting things they got going on. We're in the back, and Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose are back there, and Sonya Deville's hyping up Mandy, and she's like, I'm ready to get this tag team back on track. And Mandy Rose is like, great, I got this match tonight with Alexa Bliss. Go out there, get fired up. I got this box, and I got to go do something with this box. And I already knew, you all already knew, when you seen the box, this was going to be some sort of a gift for Otis, which was fine. We know she was going to go give this thing to Otis, but we didn't get to see the cake just yet, because they felt it was more important for us to go to the ring and listen to Elias. Now, to be nice to this guy, because I was a huge fan of Elias when he came across the board in NXT. I thought we were going to see big things from him on the main roster. And I would actually be okay with Elias running down everybody in the Royal Rumble and taking aim with Brock Lesnar in his little sing-song form, strumming his guitar and trying to make it entertaining. I would be okay with this if the guy actually structured his song like a song. And, make the lyrics go to the chords that you're struggling to play. Like, I understand a casual guitarist can, play and do a little solo here and there, and they know the basic chords or whatever. But we are supposed to believe that Elias is more than just a casual guitarist. He's a drifter. I've heard him play the guitar. And while he was actually in tune this week, which is much appreciated, the song doesn't go with the music. It sounds like I'm at a teenage battle of the bands or something where these guys are just slightly off. You ever walk by a garage band of teenagers that sound like they have potential, but it's just a little bit off? That's what it is like listening to Elias. And does anybody believe Elias is going to win the Royal Rumble? No. So all this time he's spending up hyping up himself and taking shots at Brock Lesnar like he has a chance against the Beast only makes me think that Elias is going to end up being booked at number 2 in the Royal Rumble. He's going to come out and get embarrassed as usual, and that's going to be the end of it. So all this time you gave to him tonight to struggle to sing to us was wasted. Thanks a lot. Thanks for nothing. We go to the back, and Otis and Tucker are just hanging out back there. Otis is trying to focus up. Tucker's trying to get his mind right. And Mandy Rose approaches with this box. She talks about how this is something she should have already done, and she feels really bad about everything that happened to his mom's fruitcake and whatnot. And she reveals the cake for Otis that says, "I'm sorry." It's got a little bulldozer toy on it. Otis seemed really enthused by this. He was very happy about it. Tucker seemed to still be a little bit standoffish, like he didn't trust her still. But this is interesting. Like I said last week, to make the world believe that a girl like Mandy would not be attracted to Otis is false. It's a lie. And the only reason they would do that would be to be insulting the overweight society of men and many of us who have beautiful, attractive girlfriends and wives, because they see the person within, which is the message they should be trying to show the world. For all your young kids that are watching, it's what's inside that counts. So I'm into it. Like, I get it. As long as they don't go along and ruin it too much and start to get, soap opera-ish with it. Let's have a clear, concise message. Let's get to an end game. Maybe let them date for a little while. Who cares? Really, at the end of the day, it's the most interesting thing outside of The Fiend and Daniel Bryan. Everything else can go to shit. Everything else is shit, is what I really should have said. So we get Mandy Rose with Sonya Deville out there in a matchup with Alexa Bliss, which was a match, I guess. It existed, it happened, we watched it, it was average, and that's being generous. But once again, on this night, Otis and Tucker would come out to provide the distraction. Alexa Bliss couldn't believe her eyes. Otis is standing out there licking a cake like he was practicing on a peach, just doing his best imitation of The Rock on this cake. Going down on some pie, so to speak. And this was enough for Alexa Bliss to just stand there and watch. And how stupid are you to be standing there and watching this guy licking some cake instead of ending the broad you're in the ring with? So Alexa Bliss gets what she deserves. She gets the distraction. Mandy gets the roll-up. She gets the win thanks to her new crush, Mr. Otis. Another thing I didn't understand about this, and I'm just nitpicking maybe a little bit here, but you have Mandy and Sonya in the back, and Sonya's all like hyped up and like she's ready to go, and she wants to help Mandy Rose tonight, and she played absolutely no part in anything. So it was just kind of weird, because the way she was prior to the match, you would have expected that Mandy was going to be the reason for the interference. And, I'm sorry, Sonya would have been the reason for the interference. And Mandy is still in this weird, like, tweener mode. Like, she wrestles like a heel and she talks trash to her opponents like a heel. But backstage, she's getting soft with Otis. So, we'll see what side of the coin she ends up landing on. But this was okay at best. The match wasn't great, but the involvement of Otis and Mandy, we'll have to see what that tail ends up spinning. Lacey Evans versus Sasha Banks was a match that they advertised all night long. They talked about it about 3 or 4 times before we got to this segment. And Lacey Evans comes out for her match. She's got her all new Captain America inspired graphics for her Titantron and her screen and her ramp. And she's here for her match with Sasha Banks. Sasha's music hits, but she doesn't show up. Instead, we get the champion Bayley. Bayley wants to tell everybody Sasha's not here. She's got to finish up her rap album. And the more they mention this rap album, the more I'm thinking to myself, this album better be pretty banging. Because all this work she's putting into it, the fact that she's putting it over her WWE career, if this is actually a fact, which we don't know, it could just be a stupid storyline by the WWE, or it could be actually what happened. My biggest problem with this is obviously you knew going into SmackDown, the powers that be, the bookers and whatever, that Sasha wasn't there. So why advertise it all night long? Just because you advertised it last week, possibly, it didn't work out, Sasha didn't make it to work tonight, come out and say that. And follow it up with something else. Don't give us this lame back and forth where the crowd is chanting USA. Now, last time I checked, Sasha Banks is an American, right? She was born and raised, I believe, in Boston, Massachusetts. That's where she claims to be from. So why would you chant USA as something to be negative towards Sasha Banks? Because the WWE's brainwashing you into believing Lacey Evans is now this all-American girl. She's Miss Captain America. She's the former U.S. Marine, and all that's fine. All that is fine. But how stupid are you as a fan? Sasha Banks is from the USA, so chanting USA in support of Lacey Evans as a negative towards Sasha Banks is asinine, you dumb idiots. Explain that one to me. Why are you chanting USA? Just because she came out in some red, white, and blue graphics? Oh, now we gotta chant USA. She's not wrestling Asuka. She's not wrestling somebody from outside the States. She's not defending the honor of the country against Sasha Banks. What does this mean? How does this make sense? That's how brainwashed and stupid some of these fans are. These fans that actually pay their money to go sit through this garbage show, they have no idea what they're even doing. They just think, oh, red, white, and blue. She's the American character. We have to chant USA. She's like a female Lex Luger. Come on, man. Gives a shit. Bayley wants to run down Lacey Evans. She wants to say something about Lacey Evans' snot-nosed little girl, which prompts Lacey Evans to run to the back. And they have this very lame little backstage encounter where Bayley almost gets hit with a woman's right, but gets out of there right before Lacey Evans is able to cold cock her. And that was it. That was it. Kayla Braxton interviewed Daniel Bryan in the back. Daniel Bryan says that Bray Wyatt wants everybody to believe he is unbeatable. But he knows that Bray Wyatt can be beaten. Bray Wyatt knows that Daniel Bryan knows that he can be beaten, and he will beat him at the Royal Rumble. Without warning, Rambling Rabbit shows up on the screen behind Daniel Bryan. He says that he knows the secret to defeating the Fiend. He has one weakness, and he was going to share it with Daniel Bryan until out of nowhere, Bray Wyatt's hand in the hurt glove suffocates and murders Rambling Rabbit on national television, telling us snitches get stitches. They also apparently get murdered. Which was a very cool moment on the night. That definitely, like I said, going back to what made the Firefly Funhouse a fun house to be in. Definitely looked like a creeped out Daniel Bryan. And we go from the most interesting segment to another of the least interesting things that the WWE is doing. Braun Strowman is on a collision course with the Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura, apparently at the Royal Rumble. So why would you give me this match here? Why are we seeing Braun Strowman wrestling the Intercontinental Champion in a non-title scenario when he's already got the match? You gave me the match. I've seen the match. There is nothing they could do differently in the match we are going to see in the Royal Rumble. It's also another match on the night. Like I said, all of the matches did this, where an interference caused the finish of the match. Now, this interference might have backfired on Shinsuke Nakamura, so it was different, but essentially, it was exactly the same. Braun Strowman pins the champion. A very, very big no-no on this channel. You don't generate interest in a match by giving us a match. You don't show that a challenger is worthy of getting a championship by constantly beating up the champion. There is a way to build talent. Braun Strowman has only been built into a 7-foot carbon copy of the Big Show, dancing around, swinging his hips like a giant 7-foot clown, worthy of the poop hammer every single time we see his gigantic slumbering body in the ring, doing nothing more than fulfilling his role in being the next generation's Big Show, and he's going to go out there and be given the Intercontinental Championship, and I have no clue as to why. I couldn't come up with a reason for you if I tried. So after all this, we go backstage to Sheamus, and Sheamus is standing in the dark once again doing the Aleister Black style promo, and he wants to start talking right out of the brain of Vince McMahon. Every single word that Sheamus said on this night was nothing more than Vince McMahon's own personal fan fiction. Handwritten by him, everything he feels about professional wrestling and the little men that are littering his company and is like trash to him. And he's having Sheamus out there as his official mouthpiece, saying size means everything. And it's not about embracing who you are, that you have to rise over size. He kept talking trash about Chad Gable. He showed the little rat just how much SmackDown's about to change. Small isn't something to be embraced, it's something to be crushed and disposed of. Sheamus says last week he proves size doesn't matter. Embrace who you are, and Sheamus agrees. Since he's returned, Sheamus is ready to embrace chaos. Small isn't something to be embraced. It's something to be crushed and eliminated. Do you hear it? I did it in Vince McMahon's voice for a reason, because that's exactly what they want everybody to believe. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And now I am honest, if we're talking about Marco's stunt size small, then I get where the old man is coming from. But there are many levels to small. And this is just definitely words out of Vince McMahon's mouth. We see Daniel Bryan for the final time on this evening. He's in the back, and he gets a gift box in the locker room, and he opens the gift box, and it has Rambling Rabbit's dead body in it with half of his head completely removed, which was terrifying, and it seemed to really shake Daniel Bryan. But it was weird. And we'll have to wait and see how we're going to follow this up, as it's starting to get pretty creepy. The only thing I don't like about it is, if this is true that Bray Wyatt does have one weakness, once it is the Fiend's weakness is exposed, then isn't he kind of done? Like, if there's only one way to beat him, once you know how to do it and the world sees it, then everybody's going to do it, and Bray Wyatt becomes nothing again. Unless he's going to change his weakness from person to person. I don't know. I'm sure he's creative enough to find a way around it, but I don't agree with that so much. He has one weakness. Rambling Rabbit knows the secret. Daniel Bryan's going to eventually figure it out, and once he pulls the trigger on that, well, maybe Roman will be the one to figure it out. Maybe he's only susceptible to spears and Superman punches. I don't know. I'm afraid of that being the case. But once you reveal his weakness, the character becomes ineffective. So they have to be careful going forward with how they really do this. We go back to the ring and we have to see Roman Reigns, and he's going to come out and threaten everybody. And he's going to threaten us by saying he's going to win the Royal Rumble. He brought back his family. The one thing I didn't understand, Roman Reigns says, I've always had backup. And I've always had friends, but I'm bringing back my family. And I'm like, where did you have backup? Haven't you been going at this alone for weeks? I've made mention of it here. This guy's supposed to be the locker room leader, but nobody in the locker room seems to want to stick by the side of Roman Reigns as he's battling Baron Corbin in his courtroom of jesters. How have you had friends? The Shield hasn't been a thing in over a year. You've had no backup. That's the whole reason why you brought your family. Now I'm bringing my family. Who did you have before? If you had friends and backup before, you wouldn't be in the situation that you find yourself in right now. Strange choice of wording here. He announced that 2020 is going to be his year, threatening us again, and then says he's going to win the Royal Rumble match and go to the main event of WrestleMania for the 5th time. Threatening us. Continuing to threatening us. Nobody wants that. Stop threatening me. Then the Usos come out. They said some stuff. Then Corbin and Ziggler come out, and it just gets ridiculous. They talk about how they're going to take care of the big dog's two little bitches. Ooh. And we're going to have this tag team matchup to end SmackDown tonight, which was very, very confusing. They booked the Revival to come out in a spot merely to embarrass them. The Revival's music hits while the Usos and Ziggler and Corbin are throwing down. And they come out just to cause a distraction. They don't get involved in the match. They come out to distract the Usos. Got the Corbin Kings back. So then they start to leave and Roman Reigns' music hits. And he eliminates them both with one punch. Like, one Superman punch incapacitated two fully grown-ass men to the point where they were laying on the floor nearly unconscious. Roman Reigns, who was already out there with the Usos, left. And I don't know why he left if he was only going to be booked to come out later on. He could have very easily head off the Revival at the pass as they started to come out and then hit them both with one Superman punch, embarrass them, and allow them to go back into the backstage area and head straight to the catering room so they can drown their tears in some ice cream. Then what happens? The one thing I said last week that was going to happen, it was only going to be a matter of time. We seen the return of Robert Roode coming out to reunite the Ziglorious Rudolphs, two of the biggest clowns in Corbin's court. And that's the direction we find ourselves in. I called it exactly, almost to a T last week. And what are we going to see next week? A 6-man tag, Roman and the Usos versus Corbin and his clowns. And it's going to be any number of matches, including these 6, going forward until the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns again threatens us with a match at the Royal Rumble against Baron Corbin. He challenges Corbin to a match at the Rumble. They're both going to be able to face off with each other in the Rumble, but we have to now have this matchup, so they're going to be pulling double duty at the Royal Rumble. Because this is the story everybody wants to see. This is the story I am the least interested in on the Blue Brand, and it is going to be given center stage at the Royal Rumble for no reason. There's nothing at stake. There's nothing on the line. Roman's not going to be king if he beats Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin is meaningless. He's just a worthless mid-card act that's being pushed into the upper mid-card main event slots because there's nobody else there. And the WWE just finds Roman Reigns to be the single most important thing about their whole entire company. Screw the Universal Championship. That don't matter. We got Roman versus the King. And it's god-awful. We're going to embarrass the Revival tonight in the main event. Revival, you're going to be in the main event. Oh, shit. Wow, we're going to be in the main event. Yeah, you're going to go out there, and Roman Reigns is going to knock you out with a Superman punch. Oh, so he's going to punch Dash, and then he's going to punch Wilder? No. He's going to punch you both at the same time because you're a couple of schmucks. And we hate you. Absolutely ridiculous. Corbin and Ziggler win. Corbin and Ziggler beat the Usos in their first match back since their return because Roman Reigns spears Baron Corbin on the outside. So Roman Reigns, who brought the Usos back to have his back, cost his cousins their first match since coming back to have his back. Wow. I'm sure the Usos signed up to come back and be a couple of losers next to their cousin. Absolutely ridiculous. This show was dog shit, big dog shit. It didn't matter. It didn't get me that much more excited for the upcoming Royal Rumble starting off the year of 2020. The only thing I care about is Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend, and we all know Daniel Bryan is not going to be the one to beat The Fiend. The Fiend is going to be going into WrestleMania as the Universal Champion, so all of this interesting stuff is going to go away before you even know it. And then we are going to be on a road that we don't want to be on, which is Roman versus The Fiend. And he's going to be the one to save us all from this monstrous man. In a story, once again, that nobody wants to tell. And I wouldn't be surprised if Baron Corbin gets hitched along for the ride throughout the entirety of that feud leading us into WrestleMania. And then you got Otis and Mandy. The one thing that I guess my heart is big enough to accept. At first, I didn't care about it because all they wanted to do was give me ham and give me fruitcake. But the storyline has developed. They put some thought into it. It has evolved into something interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing if the big man can land that dime piece, if you know what I'm saying. And that was SmackDown Live, Friday Night SmackDown, whatever you want to call it, for January 10th, 2020. It was not the best episode. It definitely wasn't the worst, but it absolutely was not that good as usual. Thank you all for being here once again and joining me on this week. We got everything you need up this week. We reviewed NXT. We reviewed AEW, which both went up yesterday. We got the Monday Night Raw review. We got the most important superstars of the decade and so much more. And to be able to access all of that, all you need to do is be a subscriber. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new awesome wrestling videos that come up on this channel. And then like this video if you enjoyed yourself, if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, if I made you understand why SmackDown was once again a suckdown, which is not really that hard to do if you have some common sense. Smash that like button. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world, especially if they need to know why SmackDown wasn't as good as they might think it was. So this is your official place for an education in professional wrestling. And just when you thought it was safe to start watching SmackDown again because Daniel Bryan and The Fiend, they give you Ambien level stuff. Stuff that you need to brew like a gallon of coffee in order to be able to get to the end. And that's going to be it for your SmackDown review this week. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue The Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. That's going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.